The recent clash between former President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has exposed a growing divide between the United States and Europe over the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Trump, known for his unconventional approach to foreign policy, expressed frustration with Zelensky's perceived unwillingness to negotiate a peace deal with Russia. This disagreement has significant implications, potentially jeopardizing future U.S. aid to Ukraine and signaling a shift in U.S. foreign policy towards a more hands-off approach. The situation is further complicated by Europe's unwavering commitment to supporting Ukraine, setting the stage for a potential transatlantic rift. The clash became public after a contentious phone call between the two leaders, the details of which were leaked to the press. Trump, according to sources familiar with the conversation, urged Zelensky to make a deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin, implying that U.S. financial assistance was contingent on Ukraine's willingness to come to the negotiating table. Zelensky, facing pressure from both sides, found himself in a precarious position, caught between appeasing a vital ally and defending his nation's sovereignty. The fallout from this disagreement has been swift and significant, casting a long shadow over the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations. The United States and its European allies have committed substantial financial resources to bolstering Ukraine's defense capabilities since the outbreak of the conflict with Russia. While the exact figures remain shrouded in secrecy, estimates suggest that the U.S. alone has provided billions of dollars in military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. This aid has been instrumental in enabling Ukraine to resist Russian aggression, providing much-needed weaponry, equipment, and training to the Ukrainian armed forces. However, the recent clash between Trump and Zelensky has raised concerns about the future of U.S. financial support, potentially leaving Ukraine in a precarious position. European nations, particularly those bordering Russia, have also dug deep into their coffers to provide financial assistance to Ukraine. Driven by concerns about Russia's expansionist ambitions and a desire to deter further aggression, European leaders have pledged billions of euros in aid, encompassing military equipment, humanitarian supplies, and financial support for the Ukrainian economy. This collective effort underscores Europe's unwavering commitment to supporting Ukraine and containing Russian influence in the region. However, the sustainability of this level of financial support remains uncertain, particularly as the conflict drags on and economic pressures mount. European leaders have adopted a resolute stance against Russian aggression in Ukraine, driven by a combination of security concerns, historical grievances, and a commitment to upholding international law. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine have served as stark reminders of Russia's willingness to use military force to achieve its geopolitical objectives. This has galvanized European resolve to counter Russian influence and defend the territorial integrity of its neighbors. European nations have responded to the crisis by imposing sanctions on Russia, bolstering their military presence in Eastern Europe and providing unwavering support to Ukraine. The commitment to supporting Ukraine is particularly strong in Central and Eastern European countries that share a border with Russia or have experienced Soviet domination in the past. These nations view the conflict in Ukraine as a direct threat to their own security and are determined to prevent a repeat of history. Leaders such as Polish President Andrzej Duda and Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda have emerged as vocal advocates for Ukraine, urging their Western allies to provide continued support and maintain pressure on Russia. This unwavering support from its European neighbors provides Ukraine with a crucial lifeline in its struggle against Russian aggression. Donald Trump, known for his unorthodox approach to foreign policy, has consistently advocated for a negotiated settlement to the conflict in Ukraine. From his perspective, the U.S. should prioritize its own interests and avoid entanglement in protracted foreign conflicts. He views the conflict in Ukraine as a regional dispute that should be resolved through diplomacy, not military intervention. Trump's stance has been met with skepticism from some quarters, who view it as appeasement of Russian aggression. However, his supporters argue that his approach offers the best hope for a lasting peace and avoids the risk of escalating the conflict. Trump's belief in a negotiated settlement stems from his conviction that dialogue and compromise are essential tools of diplomacy. He has repeatedly expressed his willingness to engage with Russian President Vladimir Putin, believing that direct communication can help bridge divides and find common ground. While his efforts to broker a peace deal have so far been unsuccessful, his supporters argue that his approach remains the most viable path to ending the conflict and preventing further bloodshed. However, critics argue that Trump's willingness to negotiate with Putin emboldens the Russian leader and undermines the international community's efforts to hold Russia accountable for its actions.